Good evening, everyone. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it, Kurt and Quasar and Luke. Having dinner. All right. So, I have plans for tonight, believe it or not. I'm seeing things pop up on stuff going on in Discord. I'm distracted. Anyway, good evening. Yes. Still playing in the background. Oh, that is. Okay, good. That's fine. That's what's supposed to be playing. So I did a bunch of work on audio this week, changed a few things around, did a little lighting stuff this week, and then had to go away for a few days. But I wanted to talk about a few things tonight. First, though, we'll go over what was in the jam. Let's see. Let's make this one go away, and I'll bring the DAW up so we can see it. Let's see. There we go. And this is gonna make Luke twitch a little bit, I guess. But that's the way it goes tonight. So everything in the background tonight came from the new Pure Lo-Fi instrument from Arturia. So it's an all lo-fi night tonight because I'm just in a fuzzy kind of mood. So anyway, that's this thing that was playing that pad. And so let's see, the bass is not going to pop up right away. I got to do a thing here, because the bass is also in Pure Lo-Fi. It's this thing here, with a pretty heavy echo going in one. So the bass comes up in the left side, and its echo comes up in the right. And the reason it's set up a little oddly because I'm actually using a new sequencing plugin to control it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that was the bass. Let's see. This thing actually was this one in the background. I didn't use this one very much, but this is one I've been using for a couple weeks actually. This is coming off of ModWave, the ModWave plugin. And this one's arpeggiation is being done by the stock Ableton Live arpeggiator. Just doing some kind of random pluckiness. And we can't do a live stream without my signature arp. So let's see, this other thing of pluckiness came in from another sequence controlled instance of lo-fi. Oh no, yeah, and that's looking at the wrong track. Didn't want to show you that yet. That's what I want. But it may not let me do it that way. Isn't that fun? Here we go. Anyway, it's another pure lo-fi instance. And one last pure lo-fi, which was this one, I'm sorry, this one's not pure lo-fi. This is also Arturia though. It's the augmented voices. I say it's the augmented voices. It's gonna make me fight for it. Because I don't remember how I had this one set up. The using this sequencer can be a little tricky. So we'll talk about that. Anyway, that was doing the choir thing that you heard. It'll take it a moment to start. Let's see. That. And then coming from the real world of synths and hardware, let's see. That will stop shortly, I promise. Coming off the Polybrute. Another mod wave instance. And the multi-poly in hardware this time. And let's see, from the OP6, or from the OP6, well, I have the way I have it written here. Oh, from the OP6 is the Theramax. And finally, I think it's the last thing was the, this is a factory patch from the Wave State called Subtle Thoughts. I'm having a hard time speaking tonight. So that would be it for what was in the jam. Hey, there he is, Rudvik. I like this patch. It's nice and light, but it's got this the wave sequence bit that's underneath of it is really cool. And there's a lot going on there in the background. Anyway, so that's it for what is in the jam. Let's get the background drone thing going again while we talk, just so there's some music-ish kind of stuff going on. I have I wanted to try and make sure that everything flowed in timed groups, because the sequences, it sort of mattered tonight. Usually the sequences I have, it doesn't matter if things are out of time, but they were kind of sort of in groups of 8 tonight. So anyway, let's see, on the schedule for tonight, only a couple things, but you know, again, I make notes, lots of them, because I don't want to forget things. I'm getting to the point where I forget things. So let's see. First up, so there was some discussion, and I'm gonna, you know, we've been featuring a lot of Arturia, well, one Arturia synth tonight. And so there's been a lot of discussion about the relative worth of upgrading to V Collection 11, or buying V Collection 11 to start with, because the price went up this year. You know, the base price, if you're buying it new, is $700 US. And you know, who knows, that may change. But anyway, $700 US is a lot of money, granted. But you know, it gets down to what's the value proposition, and you know, so and I gotta say, I'm not sponsored by Arturia, although I have a lot of their stuff, but they have no idea that I give glowing reviews of their stuff all the time. Or if I don't like something, I say that too. If you take what's in the collection, which is 45 various synth emulations, or the augmenteds, or the new pure lo-fi and some other stuff all thrown in there, that's 45 of them into $700, works out to $15.56 per synth, per emulated synth, which I think is a pretty darn good deal. Yes, it's a chunk of change. The other thing that most people conveniently forget when they're arguing about how much it's worth is that if you're upgrading, depending on how much stuff you also own from Arturia, the discount can be pretty steep. And they made some changes in the package this year in the upgrade too. It's like usually when you buy the V collection, the stuff that's in the package doesn't include the like 3 or 4 most recent synths that they just came out with. Anything within the last year, they don't typically include. This time around, everything in the emulated synths, all of the augmenteds, including the full version of augmented mallets, which was brand new, hadn't even been released otherwise yet, and some other stuff that was brand new. It ordinarily would not have been part of the upgrade or part of the collection, was all thrown in this year. So it's I think they're kind of learning that people don't like it when they buy the flagship and all the stuff's not in the flagship. So they put almost all the stuff in the flagship, and there's a caveat on the almost, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. So it works out like if you're going through the catalog and you find 4 or 5 synths that you want separately from Arturia. At that point, if you're going to buy 4 or 5 of their synths, you're already paying the $700 for the collection. So you get your 4 or 5 synths and the other 40 for free. I don't get why people are all so freaked out about this. So the one thing that I may question in their philosophy, because a lot of these the new pure synth and the augmenteds all have kind of a root in pigments, and they confirmed that in a thing I saw the other day on where they were talking about this. There are common roots in augmenteds and lo-fi, pure lo-fi, the new pure series. That's going to be part of a series now. They share roots with pigments, yet pigments is not included as part of the full V collection. So part of me, and a lot of people don't think that makes sense, and part of me agrees, because if you're going to include things that are based on pigments, even if it's not the full version of pigments that they're based on, I kind of sort of think maybe that you ought to include pigments. The other side of that coin is pigments is kind of a different direction than what the V collection is, because the V collection is all the emulated synths. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think it's worth it. Other people don't. I get it. So that's where that goes. I forgot to put this on this sheet, but Superbooth just wrapped up in Berlin, and as some of you may know, I had originally planned to go, but instead decided that my wife and I would go to Iceland for a week in January, which was wonderful. And I got to say that based on the coverage from Superbooth does not seem to have been as in depth as it has been in past years. So I may be getting a distorted picture, but from what I've seen, I don't know that I missed a whole lot from a new gear, new software, new stuff side of things. I mean, there would have been the social aspect, which would have been, could have been a lot of fun. But as far as hardware goes, or instruments go, or that kind of thing, I don't really think I missed much. I'm kind of glad I stayed home. I'm definitely glad I went to Iceland. And there's only like one thing in the videos that I've seen that was even mildly interesting to me, and it's not even all that interesting, which is the new Moog Messenger. I will say that if I were in the market for a hardware monosynth, I would probably figure out how to pick one up. But I just didn't see anything that I was in the market for, and I'm wondering, I guess we've had a lot of new stuff come out over the last 2-3 years, and I guess I'm wondering, part of me wonders, is it just slump time? Yeah, so Roland did version 2 of the SH4D, and apparently that's really good, from what I've seen. It's that the SH4D is not really in my wheelhouse. It's a cool device, but just not something that lit my candle. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but I just didn't see a whole lot that really jazzed me. I guess the second most interesting thing was the new 1010 Bento, or whatever it's called. But that was like only but so interesting. So anyway, glad I didn't go. Glad I stayed home, I guess, because that gave me at least a little bit of time to talk about the thing that the object of interest for tonight, or at least the object of interest for me, and that's there's a new sequencer plug-in called Waymaker, and a bunch of what you heard tonight was coming from Waymaker. So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight, and then I'll, it's kind of a neat piece of software. It, I mean, as some of you know, I've got a lot of interest in Stepic. I use it a lot. I also use the inbuilt or the included arpeggiator that comes with Ableton Live. But one thing that Stepic and falls short on is it doesn't really offer the bird is lonely. Anyway, the only thing one thing it doesn't really offer is unique pseudo-generative sequencing. I mean, you can get it to do some random stuff, and you can get it to, but you can't get one. It's difficult to make one sequence affect another, or something like that. And that's kind of where this thing Waymaker comes in. Let's go ahead and pull up the DAW, and we'll take a look at how one of these things was put together. I used it for several things tonight. So I've got some of these tracks kind of folded up, and we'll look at the pluck one first. So if we unfold that, basically this includes 2 tracks. This one's here for show. I'll show you what that is in a minute. So you have 2 tracks. You have your instrument. In this case, it was pure lo-fi. playing the kind of, no, it's not gonna let me do it. Oh, here, let me play it. What am I looking at here? Let me put the right thing on here. There we go. Maker. So it's running this sequence. And so the way this thing works is really kind of interesting. I'm not going to do a really good job of describing this, I'm sure, because it's so flexible and complex and just interesting. So basically, this is running a chain of sequences, each of which, or sequencers, each of which affects the other in some way or another. So the first one here is just a MIDI. It's a 4-step MIDI sequencer that is transposing whatever's coming into it. And so what I'm feeding into it is, let me get the chat out of the way, this 32-bar sequence, which is just basically, D minor something, D minor chord, D minor something chord, G chord, back and forth between, is really all the sequence does. So when this runs, as long as the note is held, it starts doing these transpositions. So the first step, it's just playing the root, exactly what it sees coming in. And then a half a bar or 2 beats later, it'll switch to this, which pops up the octave. 2 beats later, it comes down to a 4th below the root. And then 2 beats later, it's a 6th up. Okay, so that sequence runs. But that sequence feeds into, and you can do other things in the sequence, like I can have it generate MIDI. There's a thing called branching that I haven't even gotten into yet. But this one's just a transpose, and it's transposing by scalar tones. So that feeds into this, another transpose, which is again doing the, which is again doing every half bar, but this one does a little more with it. There's 8 steps, and it's randomizing every loop through, every 16 beats, it makes 2 changes to the sequence and goes again. And I've specified that it can go down an octave and up a 5th. So that's that part of it. That feeds then into this guy, which is another transpose in 5 stages, and this one does it a little differently still, because this one is, again, once again, it's transposing, but this one is doing it a little different still. So all of these sequences, and this one has 5 steps, all of these sequences are affecting each other and transposing what they see come in, and it'll do chords too, by the way. So it's doing all that. That thing gets into this thing of probability and decides what's going to play when. So basically, in this case, any note, the way I have it set up, any step has a 45% chance of sounding a note. So when this thing outputs MIDI, I mean, it really starts to get really random and really, but everything is kind of tied together, because I've told it, make sure everything lines up with D minor, which is what we're playing in tonight. But it's constantly altering the sequence. And so that's what I have this, let's get this out of the way. So if you look at the MIDI data that's generated, and this is a section of it that I recorded earlier. This is the MIDI, and it's hard to see because there's a lot of it. But each few bars Every like this is 4 bars. It doesn't repeat. I recorded 32 bars. It didn't repeat a single time in 32 bars. And I have no idea if it would ever get around to repeating itself. But everything yet everything still sounds cohesive, like it belongs together. And I think that's really very cool in my book. So that's a and there's a whole bunch of different. There's when you get into it, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different modules, some of which are sequencers, some of which are modifiers to sequencers, that all interact with each other. Anyway, really cool thing if you're into generative sequencing or anything like that. Anything that would be I would call pseudo-random. Where'd my sequence go? So, when this thing plays, as you heard, let me fold that back up so I can find it correctly. So as it plays, it'll it's going to take it 8 bars to start up because of the way I wanted things to loop tonight. So it'll start playing that this pluck thing. Hey, Jeff. Here it comes. It's going to come up. So this just goes through this exercise. My gosh. Taking care of yourself and all that stuff, huh? So, I've listened to this thing all day and haven't heard it. It's like this is just kind of goes. And no, sorry, Jeff. It's always good to you always want to be taking good care of yourself. So that, in a quick nutshell, is the Waymaker. So what's weird about it? So, and what makes it different than one thing that's different than Stepic? And this is one thing. Hey, Tracy, this is one thing. This is one kind of ding against this, as far as I'm concerned. You see, I've got to have this whole thing set up here. Whoops. Okay. With all this thing where we've got, I've got them kind of folded up in groups, track groups, but you've got to have a track for Waymaker, and then you have to have a track for the instrument that you want to use, and then you have to tell that instrument to be listening all the time and listen to the track that Waymaker is on. And then you have to listen, and then you have to do that in a specific way. You have to pick it up from Waymaker, not from the either the pre or post effects outputs. And so it's convoluted. It's what I would call it's kind of sort of the old school, the old style way of doing things in this kind of thing, or where you're the old school way of working with an external synthesizer or something like that. Whereas now if I don't have a Stepic example set up, but we can do one real quick. Let's see, MIDI track. Oops, not that. Let's see here. Let me go back full screen. Did I leave a blank MIDI track? I may not have. Let's see. Yeah, I did. Okay, so if I were going to do this, sequencing, step sequencing with Stepic, I go in and go here and grab Stepic, and I drop that on my track. Oh, grab the wrong one. I keep forgetting that. I have to get that from a different place. There's two different versions of Stepic, and I have both. So I can put Stepic on my track here, and you can see it's banging away. It's banging away making these notes because of the way I have it set up. So let's go here. So it only plays when there's a note coming in. And so I've got I've got Stepic on the track now, and now I go grab whatever instrument I want. Let's just grab, we'll grab Vital because it's easy, and we'll make a quick pluck from scratch because that only takes a minute. So let's see, let's grab Factory, Basic Shapes. That's good enough. Crank up the, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Give ourselves an appropriate envelope for a pluck. For the moment, I want this to go, let's see, this has to go to sends and send it over to synth bus. Apparently I forgot that, no, I didn't. And let's make it listen to the complete control. And so you hear it that when I hold it and it's repeating, that's the that's Stepic stepping in and stepping. Turn it down a little bit. And because in Stepic, you know, I haven't really told it much except for play notes, you know, it's going to run through. Let's go ahead and make this 8 steps. 8 steps. I want to tell it that I am in. Come on down to up to D minor. And let's just go ahead and randomize it just to make it quick. And I know I can do things like I can say make these 2 steps, you know, play randomly, and let's make this one not have a random note, and that one have a random note. And there's other things other things I can do, like I can say, okay, let's crank that down to 4 steps and make that have an octave, and its order be random, but not repeat 2 in a row. So I mean, this will be generative, but nothing really affects anything else. And if I want to have something where I have one sequence that drives the next sequence, so things are actually, you know, drastically, or not even drastically, but things are shifting completely over time, then I have to stack up Stepic instances, and you can't stack Stepic instances up on one track. So the more you want to add that kind of thing together, the more tracks you need just to get through all the Stepics to get to the synth that you want to play. And the cool thing about Waymaker is that it includes all of that goes on in one just in one instance of Waymaker. And as I said, I haven't even gotten into, you know, beyond the basics of this yet. And even just with the little bit of fooling around that I've done, you know, I find that it's really been a very cool sequencer. And so it will, you know, I could just as easily tell it to control an external synth or an internal synth. It doesn't, you know, a VST, it doesn't really matter. But it, you know, and so link for it, again, not sponsored. Akil doesn't even know that I'm doing a video about it. But the link there is a link down in the description. It's on special because this is brand new. There's another thing. I don't have any of his other plugins, but he's got a couple of other plugins, and there's a mode in Waymaker where it can do special control of his other plugins wherever they happen to be in your project. So they don't have to be in the same track. You could set up a whole Waymaker thing that's controlling an instrument or whatever, and the track that has the other plugin on it as an effect can also be controlled by the instance of Waymaker that you're using to control something else, which is really kind of neat. It works for his two of his other plugins. So very neat idea. And you can set when things reset. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. I picked this up on I guess it was Thursday whatever day it was it came out last week, and then promptly went out of town for 2.5 days. So and unfortunately on my monthly trips out of town, I have very little time to actually play with anything musical. And it bugs me that, the new stuff comes out when I'm getting ready to go away most of the time. So anyway, that was, let's see. That was it. I just wanted to talk about those things. Nothing fancy tonight. I can go ahead and show. I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and we'll do a new set of tracks. Using Waymaker. So let's go ahead and we will insert another MIDI track. I'm going to drag that over to this side just so things flow the way I want. We'll go ahead and we'll grab plugins, and we will grab Waymaker, drop it on that track. Let me make sure so here's where your choice is. When you say controller, this is to control his other plugins, and you can see it's automatically searching to see if there's any others in the project. But what we're going to do is we're going to do with the thing that's connected to MIDI. And so when you first come up, you're presented with an 8-step basic step sequencer. So let me go make sure that I've got Stepic off of the vital track. Let's get rid of that. And we can tell. Ooh, some crunchies. Ooh, nasty. Stop it. Stop it. That's not supposed to happen on my system. Okay, so the vital track, let me get the chat out of the way for a minute. This track here, we're going to change that's going to go where it is for now. So it's going to get its MIDI from the Waymaker on track 17, and then like I said, we got to pick up from Waymaker. And this is one thing that seems to be a little bit of a bug. I'm going to have to send him a note about this because it's doing some weirdness here and there. I got to turn some stuff off too, it looks like. This is not usual for Vital to pull this much oomph. Ooh, nasty. All right, hang on, guys. Let me do some surgery here. Maybe I have too many Waymakers going. Nothing else is pulling much power. All right, let's grab a different instrument. I'm just going to grab good old drift. We'll turn this one into a pluck. And we'll change the wave shape. That's not what I want. Okay, now we can turn that back up. Bring it up an octave. There we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll send that to, I'm going to send that into reverb and delay as well. Or try to. Interesting. Should be hearing delay like crazy. What's going on over here? Oh, it's turned off. No, replica should be running. Okay, not sure what's going on here tonight. Why is it griping? All right, what did I do? What did it do? Drift. Here. Oh, I see. I have forgot to turn the monitor to always monitor the input. There we go. So when I went away to do something else, it took the focus off of this track. Let's see. So I still don't know why I'm not hearing reverb and echo though. I'm seeing them here. That's very strange. All right, well, anyway, not important for the demonstration. So, back to Waymaker. So right now, like I say, we've got this one, it's a generate track, it's in the wrong key, so we're gonna go ahead and set it to D minor. And let's see. So we're generating steps for now, and I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and tell it what I want it to do. So it should be making a note every step, and for some reason it's not. I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't think I said anything to not do that. Oh, I know why. I think maybe. No, it should only be able to make steps that I tell it to make. Let's see. That's legal for D minor. 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 That's D minor. That's D minor. Now all the notes are legal, so I don't know why it's skipping some of them. So one thing we can do though in here, though, we can also go into this section in the generate in the generate tab, and we can monkey with the length at some of these and we can monkey with velocity. And we can tell it not to play certain steps. It's already not playing some steps. So anyway, so we've got that set up doing the thing. The ones without the dots are not going to play. And we can turn them back on and off from here as well. So that's pretty basic. We got a sequence going. Now let's see what we can do to make this more interesting. So to add either another sequencer or a modifier, we hit the plus, and this gives us the list of all the various utilities and sequencers we've got. So there's you can have a step sequencer drive another step sequencer, or you can have it change over time, and this one I think is a lot of fun. So there's some other kind of things where you, again, weights and sums, and it's got Brownian sequencing. They've got a special sequencer just for doing rhythms. You can do the probability, which I showed you either, and you can also have it throw chords in. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and add a morph here, and I'm going to bring this one down to only 4 steps. This is the one that I was showing you with it before, where it's got a pitch range. So let's see, we could go down 1 octave and up, a 5th, maybe a 7th, make it a little more interesting. Okay, and so I can say, you know, you can see as it goes through every loop, every time it loops through, it's going to make 1 change to this. And so we can say, I always want the first time through to play the root. So now every time through it'll change one of the others, randomly chosen. And I can tell this too, I can tell this to be run at a different rate. There's some rules you can have about the transposing, whether it's using scalar tones or just semitones. And so we can take on top of this and we can add, we can have that drive probability or be driven by probability. And right now it's set so that everything that comes through is going to be played, but we can turn it down so that 72% of the time the note's going to play. And again, this is Half God, good to see you. So, and this is just touching the tip of the iceberg on this. So you can get in, you get a list, you can get in, you can rearrange the order that you do things in. You can, and you can always add additional sequencers or effects. Some of them also, if you click in the area up here, like if I go back to this one, there's more controls. If I click into this area, that's we get into this tab. Everyone's got different setups of stuff. And like I said, there's stuff I haven't even gotten in there. Tao, how good to see you. So it's like this is a sequencer kind of a kind of sequencer that I have been waiting for. It doesn't fit in well with certain kinds of sequenced work, but I think for a lot of ambient stuff, like you can slow this thing down and have it play out chords. Oh, we were going to play the chords. So let's go ahead and add the chord generator to the end here. And actually, what I want to do, I'm going to change the order and put probability behind the chord. If this works the way it did earlier, it'll set it so that not every pass through plays a chord. Yeah, there it goes. So 55% of the time it's playing all the notes. Let me put the chat back up because I'm looking at the computer and seeing stuff, but you're not seeing. So I tried Harmony Bloom when it first came out, and I've demoed it a couple of times since. I have never been able to get anything that I liked out of Harmony Bloom. It just is for me always too busy. Some other people get some fantastic results out of it. it's just, for whatever reason, I have a mental block about making it work properly. I don't know why, but it just doesn't fly for me. But this is doing the kind of, see, even in Harmony Bloom, it'll eventually repeat. It may not be soon, but that will eventually repeat. I don't know how long it takes for these sequences with the randomizers in there, and the interactions between the various sequencers. I don't know how long, if ever, it will be before it repeats. Yeah, and I think oftentimes there's just too much stuff, and something is creaming my CPU tonight. Let's go back to this. Okay, yeah, and I'm not going to go real long tonight. I had a very tiring weekend. I wonder what's driving this thing crazy as far as CPU, because nothing seems to be more heavy than anything else. Yeah, nothing's, let's see. This particular instance of pure lo-fi is drawing more than anything else, but nothing's, not sure what's going on. It'd be really nice if I could get an actual count of what a track is using. Anyway, so we've got this thing going right now. This first one is whoops, didn't want that. You can add things in the beginning of the stream too. Stop it. There we go. So this is that first step generator that we did. We could change this and make it a, I'm sorry, we could up here, not down there. In here. Where we have here, let's see, there's a way to do this. How do I do this? I did this before. We drop this guy down. I could change this to a transpose if I wanted to. And so with it being set as a transpose now, if I were to go into here, or actually I'll just start, let's see, yeah, set to play. So if I'm playing, as I'm playing here, yeah, it's the intro price is good, and even the regular price isn't bad. So anyway, this is transposing, throwing in chords when it feels like it ought to throw in chords. Again, pseudo randomly. So I could, if I did something that made sense, I'm gonna stop real quick, pull this up so I can see, leave that on transpose. I'm gonna drop that chord function off the end, or wherever the heck it is. Oh, let's make the third go. That's the problem. Thirds are bad. So let's make that a fifth, make that a ninth. That's a little more interesting. Actually, to make this simple, I am going to go ahead and take this one out for now. So change, delete. So now we just have what we had before. Because I can play in chords. But I'm not going to. And I'm just playing in notes. So now I can go back and capture this using the capture function in Ableton Live, and we can bring the sequence up down here and get the chat out of the way, guys. Yeah, I have to be really careful with money too at the moment, but because there's the times they are a changing, as they say. So now I can go ahead and get this to loop, and this is really bad and sloppy. So let's oops, not there. Over to here. So it'll play each of these, cycle through each of these for 4 bars. Still wondering why I'm not actually hearing. Oh, I know why. I bet. Yeah, I don't have it sent to the bus, that's why. Still barely hearing it. Or not hearing it. Makes no sense. What's going on? Oh, well, yeah, okay. This is really strange. All right, well, anyway, again, not important for the demo, but I will want to figure that out. Going from A out to D, out to D, not muted. What if I send it to main? Okay, it's going to main. Works going to main. Why does it not work going to the sends? Yeah, we're not going to do that again. Sorry. I don't know. Anyway, enough of that. So anyway, that is in the brief tour anyway of Waymaker, and I will say, you know, so talking about, you know, money and stuff, you know, yeah, I too have to be careful. I've spent much more money than I have intended to over the last actually 3 years. I've spent a lot more money than I intended, and as I've said, except for the occasional shiny object of software that pops up now and again, I don't have a whole lot of need anymore. So I keep saying this, and everyone says, yeah, famous last words, but I do think that I'm not going to be buying much for a while, which means that you're going to see a little bit of a shift in the content on the channel. And we talked about this actually a little bit before, about doing I kind of put out a what would y'all like to see kind of thing, and so one of the responses that came back was a lot of seeing process, seeing how I do things, which it varies, but so you're going to see a lot more of just kind of studio work, more live jams. As I'm working towards one of the things that I have been wanting to work towards is being able to do something that's kind of performance oriented, or at least appears to be performance oriented. And so you've actually seen me start doing this some recently with the getting the launch pad in place. So more of that kind of stuff's going to start happening. And I'm probably going to, as I've said, I will be paring down stuff. The section that's here and over to the left, probably not going to change, except rearranging some stuff here and there. Next project is getting the new monitors perched over here somehow. I'm probably going to have to either modify this stand drastically or build something. Yeah, live set. Yeah, I don't know about concert per se, but I would like to be doing live sets, live concert set kind of things on the channel. I don't know that I'll be doing anything live and in living color on a stage anywhere, or at least not much. But I do want to start, making some music that's worth making. Not that the jams at the beginning and the beginning and end of this show aren't worth it, because they're a lot of fun. But they've all been, everything that's been going on has been gearing towards the idea of being able to do a concert kind of thing periodically. And I don't know if they'll be, I don't know how often they'll be. Yeah, and that's, there's a couple of people who I'm kind of modeling the idea on. I'm sure mine won't be anywhere as good, but Martin Sturzer does his his in the house concerts periodically, and Chris Bryant from Signs of Life has started doing that as well. And Chris actually started doing it after long after that I was going to started to do it, but he and I didn't talk about it. He didn't really know that I was going, so he's not copying, but that's the kind of thing that I want to do. And I do want to do, yeah, go ahead, that'd be great. Go ahead, send me a note. I do have some ideas for live performance. And live in a venue somewhere with an actual in-person audience. I have some ideas for that I would like to do eventually, but I'm going to take the step of being able to have, making sure I have my stuff together before I actually go out there and try and launch this, because it's going to be a dragging gear out and all that kind of thing is always a production. And there's so many fraught with things to go wrong, and it's going to be things of building a live rig, so the hardest part for me always with doing something live though is what's the venue, how do you attract an audience, especially for something that's not a cover band, or at least a reasonably well-known originals band. But it's this is out of the ordinary for this area in particular, so not sure how that would go over, but I'm going to figure something out. So anyway, that's those are the things that I wanted to talk about, I think. Let's see. Yeah, that's all that's on the notes. So, at a good time too. So anyway, appreciate folks coming by. I will look forward to your note, Ludwig, and Kurt. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Kurt, we keep saying we haven't done it. We have to get together because you know, um, five-piece flute choir. But see, that would go over wonderfully in a retirement community. George, here comes George. Just as we're getting ready to wind down. We're just doing the music thing, George. I had just gone through, you know, my gushing over the gushing over the Arturia V collection update, and then talking about the Waymaker, the new Waymaker sequencer, and then was talking about kind of some shift in content here on the channel. So I'm sure too that as new things come along, I will talk about them. But mostly, I want to start moving towards making some music, you know, and maybe even doing some things where we've got a couple people glued together using some technology that allows us to share screens and audio back and forth. And Jeff, that's some stuff. Well, we got to get someone's got to get going on the testing of that other product, the Sonobus thing. That would, depending on what the delay is on that, that may be a way to do, you know, a live production. Anyway, just stuff to play with, stuff to look at. I know there's a plethora of things. So I'm going to go ahead and wind down. Tao, yep. Your streams and run through would be a treat. I have done it, but I can certainly do it again. Because it has changed, I think, since the last time I did it, Tao, at least a little bit. So I'm glad things are coming together for you, Half God. That's good. Well, it was a couple years ago, Tao, and everything was completely different. Because it was all based, that first run through, it's about a half an hour video on not just a little bit about the streaming and more about the music making part of it. And at that point it was done as part of the January for 2023. And I was doing things completely differently then. There was everything was done. It was a live jam with loopers and no software involved. So, but yeah, I can go ahead. I would probably do that on an off night, so to speak, where we can tear into how this thing's all set up. Maybe, and I'm sure some other folks. I'm sure some other folks will be interested in it. So I'll go ahead and kind of put together a script for that and show how things work. The other thing is things in the studio are going to change for video. So, but it won't be significant for that. So, all right, cool. Thanks, folks. Like I said, I am going to go ahead and roll on out, fire up some of these sequences, and we'll do it all again. I will. Oh, just before I forget, I'm not planning on streaming next Monday. It's the holiday. It's whatever the holiday is. So I'm probably going to take next week off. Although, you know, maybe that would be when I can do the walkthrough of how the studio is set up for both for streaming and then for how music ties into that. Maybe they'll do that next week. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled. There will be an announcement either on YouTube or there'll definitely be on the website. You know, all those things. The website address is there. It's also in the show notes down below. You can catch me on various Discords and all those things, and on Blue Sky. So catch you all next time. Not scheduled for next week, but the week after for sure. So thanks a lot. Check you all later.